Hello to all the beauties out there today. I'm JennyLee, and I am here with Nikki. Can you give us a little wave, Miss Nikki, and Miss Shelby this morning? We're excited to be here today. It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sunny day. I am coming to you guys from North Dakota, and it's been pretty gloomy lately, so that sunshine is shining and filling me with joy. How about you, Nikki? What's going on today? What do you got going on today? What's bringing you some joy this morning?
I too am basking. If I back up, my face will disappear because the sunshine coming through my south window is nice and powerful, and I am enjoying it immensely. If I get naked, no, I'm just kidding. It's because I'm trying to get all the vitamin D that I possibly can without freezing my tushy out outside. But it is beautiful up here in northern Western North Dakota as well. So I'm enjoying the sunshine and taking it all in.
Yeah, I've been sitting in my living room in the sun, just basking. I've got my window cracked open. It's awesome. Yeah. And Miss Shelby, what kind of joy are you finding today?
The weather is fabulous here as well. Something simple that I've got to enjoy yesterday was our dog's 10th birthday, and we literally got to be outside all day long. We picked 10 things that are totally Remy to do. And being from Montana originally, it was really awesome for it to be November 19th. And we got to take our dog to the dog park and let him swim outside, something that would not have been possible if we hadn't moved down here. So just being outdoors all day yesterday was super awesome. And my daughter's gotten to enjoy her little water table like all year round too. So I myself have also been soaking up the vitamin D, Nikki, too. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you just can't get enough of it. It truly, truly does help bring some sunshine into our lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we're excited to be here, you guys. We are the Real Joy Project, and we are excited to be with you guys here today. As you're listening to us today, if you like what you're hearing, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our future coffee chats, as we like to call them. So I hope you guys have your coffee, or if you're listening at night, maybe you got a glass of wine or just a nice cold glass of water. And we're going to settle in today, and we are going to talk about comparison. And what we are going to talk about is how comparison can be the thief of all joy. You've probably heard that saying many, many times, but we are coming into, you might be listening to this at a different time of the year, but we are coming into the holiday season. Next week is Thanksgiving. And this time of the year can be, I think, one of the highest times of the year, like highest comparison levels, like you can talk about high pollen levels at certain times of the year. Right now, we're talking about high comparison levels, and we start to compare ourselves, maybe our homes and our families and our traditions to everybody else because out on that social media or to your friends and family. But I also feel like we even compare maybe to our past years, like, well, we did this last year and we have to do it this year. So comparison can really span out, and it can really bring us down at this time of the year if we are all the time, really. But if we are not careful to remember um to stop and pause and think about what brings us joy right now. Stop comparing with others because something else is bringing them joy. Like other people will find joy in something that you do not, and that is why you need to like go down your road, follow your path, and stop comparing with everybody else. So yes, comparison is the thief of all joy. That is going to be our subject today. So settle in and let's have a conversation. So who wants to kick us off? Nikki or Shelby? Let's go. Let's run.
One of the first thoughts that I had when you just brought that up was gifts, and often, I don't know, everybody's family is different. Some families don't do gifts at all. Some draw names, right? Some put a cap on how much they're going to spend. Maybe you even do that with your girlfriends or friends and things like that. And what can happen is that you look at someone else, we all know those people that are good gift givers, right? They really are thoughtful and poignant in what they get. And maybe that year, maybe that isn't a big deal to you. We all know about the love languages and things like that, and what way we like to receive love and the way that we like to give love. And so I think about some of the people that are in my life that are very good gift givers, and I think that there's different seasons of my life that have been better than others. And then sometimes you might look at that giving a gift and be like, man, that person really hit it on the nail on the head. And then you're thinking about your own and you're like, man, I just went to Dollar General and, filled up I don't know, a Rubbermaid tub of like all the candies and gave that to my nephew or whoever. And so we have that, keeping up with the Joneses of like, man, I should have done a better job or whatever, instead of stepping back and like you said, Jenny Lee, pausing and thinking about, okay, well, why did you choose the whole container full of Andy's mints? I'm just thinking like if it was something for my sister, you can hardly find those anymore, and she is a huge Andy's mint fan. So if it's about the person, but sometimes we have to remember too, money, right? I think for right now, for a lot of people, money is an issue. And so, and how could it not be? I'm just saying with the state of everything, the tariffs and how much things are costing and things like that. So I think we forget, we often say that's the thought that counts. I think back to my sister-in-law when she was getting done with grad school. She did not have a lot of money. And so she made gifts for my kids. And now our other nieces and nephews have grown up in a very different environment. And so, I've said, well, oh, I'm going to I'm like, those were great gifts. And she's like, well, I just didn't have a lot of money. I'm like, no, no, no. So here's the thing is intention, right? And that's with a lot of things in life. If
Yeah.
your intention is that I may not get any of the adults in my life Christmas gifts the rest of the year or even birthday gifts, but if I see something that reminds me of them and it's something that I know that they will love, my intention is that I'm not going to buy them the biggest, baddest birthday gift to be better than everybody else. My intention is that I saw that painting of, whatever, and I wanted to get it for them because they really love that. I think it's the intention. It doesn't mean that it has to be they have to give me something back,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And so I think that's what happens here, even at the Christmas time or any other time that we're giving gifts or we just get caught up in that comparison trap. Is I look back, and maybe it's because we have lost our daughter, but actually I just handed over, my sister-in-law had made all these like a mixtape but on a CD-ROM, right? All these fun nursery rhymes and fun kid songs that she had picked out somewhere from her childhood, and then others, and she had put the first ones she had given were in a cassette tape. The other ones were on a CD. And so I remember I just gave them to her for her daughter. And actually my son looked at them and was like, I don't know that I want you to give those. And I'm like, well, it can go over there and then they can come back for the next generation. That was so simple. It was mostly her time, but how my kids would always ask for those CDs to be playing in the car when we would go on a road trip or go somewhere. So I'm just saying, as much as sometimes sometimes we find ourselves saying, well, they didn't spend any money on that, right? Even though we don't want to admit it. But it was really the intention. It was the intention to bring people together. And that was something they know that we love music in our family, things like that. But I think we can get caught up in that, or we don't even realize we were like, well, gosh, they didn't even spend any money on that gift, right? But realizing that the time and the effort that went into that gift was the love. And that was the intention, that I can't spend that money, but I can spend my time on making this for you or spending time with you. So that's what brought it up to me, was like that gift giving, because I think sometimes we can get caught up. And it seems these days a lot of kids have all the things,
Right.
um, time, or, I think you even said that in a previous episode, Shelb, that wanting to have that experience with other people. And that's what we've tried to move to. But I don't also want to get rid of some of those really heartfelt, intentional gifts. So, try to think outside the box. That doesn't mean it has to cost $1 million.
Well, yeah, and you touched there on the love languages, which we can tag. There's a book, I like a book all about that, and
Yep.
we can put that in our in under description here when you guys are listening. But we that love languages is a huge thing. So somebody who loves to give gifts can lavishly like share with you and doesn't need to feel like they get that back. Like their love language is to give. They don't exactly have that need. And but somebody else's love language might be time, like time spent together. And so it is, I think when you can, especially those that are close to you, if you can learn their love languages, and share that with them. That is very important. And tell them what your love language is. Like, this is what I really love. This is what makes me happy. I know for me, that time together is so much more than gifts, and we talked about that on a previous episode too. So yeah.
The best
Yeah.
gift could be that my husband has made the bed. I'm an
Right, right.
for me. So I'm just saying, so the best gift that I could get for my birthday or just on a random day is that I come in and I'm thinking I'm going to make the bed and the bed is already made. I think my whole day is like shifted. I'm like, oh, and I just
Yes.
tell him how much. So there again, right, like you said, finding that out. And sometimes that takes a little bit longer to find out what maybe you're new into a family and you don't know really what somebody, or you don't see those people all the time. Just trying to, and actually, I would say you don't always have to give a gift, just being present where you
Mhm.
are, where being present with your mind, where your feet are, which we've talked about that before too, but especially at the holidays. But I think that brings up another conversation about the holidays, whether what we see on the Hallmark channel or Lifetime channel that I used to watch when I was younger, we have this picture perfect idea of what that's supposed to
Mhm.
look like and feel like. And sometimes when reality doesn't match what's in our head, then we think it was a failure or things like that. But the holidays aren't necessarily always happy for everyone. Sometimes it's because of grief and loss, but sometimes it's because maybe the holidays for them. I know people in my family that they did not give gifts for several years of their life of Christmas. So it was often a reminder of the things that they didn't have and the families and the family and the different things that they didn't have compared to other people. And so I've never had that. I've been lucky enough to never have that situation. And that actually, when someone shared that with me, it really made me take a pause and think about how blessed I am in my life. And that, those are little things that we maybe don't even think about, but those are realities for some people.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I know as a first time mom, it's interesting having these conversations. You kind of mentioned, Nikki, like, you maybe don't spend a lot of time with certain family members, or you don't really know their love language or anything like that. And my husband and I, as first time parents, were really trying to kind of figure out, what do we want the holidays to look like for our little family, but also coordinating that with, my parents, my husband's parents, and kind of setting the expectations and even some boundaries too, of like, hey, you know, we have maybe done Christmas and things a certain way in the past when we were the kids. But now that we're the parents and we have our daughter, there's different ways that we want to go about things. And gift giving has been a huge one for us. Um, a few years ago, my husband and I, when we were dating, we decided we were like, no more gifts for him and I. And I know my parents and my brother, they kind of followed suit with that too. Because growing up, it was always like, we just got a bunch of stuff at Christmas. And, there were times where maybe my parents didn't really have the ability to be getting us a lot of stuff, but I always remember getting gifts, and like, you got the cool stuff from Santa, and we never really went without, whether it was super tight or not. Um but so that was both of our childhoods. And so the one year when Justin brought up to me is like, let's not do gifts this year. He's like, when we want or need something, like, we've just been getting it for one another throughout the year, or it was getting to be like, well, gosh, I have to get you something because it's Christmas. And we were almost ending up with stuff that was like, I don't really need this. And we were just spending money almost just to spend money for the sake of getting a gift. And my family heard of us doing this. And so instead, we decided that we would both put money aside and go on a trip at some point in the year together. And so my parents were like, well, that sounds like a really cool idea, like, they probably were thinking, well, I don't want to buy stuff for my adult children that they don't really need either. Um, but I know that was really, really difficult. If my mom listens to this, she's gonna be like, why did you bring this up? Um, my mom had a really hard time with that because my mom is an excellent gift giver. That is my mom's love language is
Mm.
to gift give. She is the one who, bakes the goodies, sends out gifts to all of, her nieces and nephews and my cousin's kids. And like my mom remembers everybody's birthday and is like on top of it. So I know for her that was kind of a jab to be like, well, we're not doing gifts now. And so fast forward with our daughter here now, we have really like tried to figure out like what do we want to do. And of course my husband is like, I don't care, Shelbs. Like you tell me what we're gonna do. I'm like, no, like you have to participate in this too. So it doesn't come back to bite me. But ultimately we decided him and I would not do gifts for one another still, and that we would do maybe like one larger gift for our daughter, and it be something that maybe she's into right now, or I know she's barely going to be a year and a half come Christmas time, but we got her one larger gift for her to open with us. But we know that there's going to be a car full of gifts and things from grandma and grandpa. So that's going to come full circle for us. But just we've had a hard time figuring out what does our new tradition look like as our little close family. But also how do we kind of set some boundaries too so that it doesn't really get out of hand, because those expectations have been set and they've been there for years and years and years, and the intentions are really good to get the gifts. Um, but sometimes they can just be overwhelming, I think, from the gift giving side, but also on the receiving end too, if that's not really what you were expecting.
Do you find yourself as you're like trying to set your guys' new traditions and comparing to other families that are your in the same stage that you are, like when you're looking on social media and like, well, they're doing this, so should we be doing that? Like, do you find yourself comparing yourself to others while trying to figure that out on your journey?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I even just had a conversation with another mom. We went to the park a couple weeks ago and I flat out asked her, I was like, what are you getting your son for Christmas? 'Cause I was like, Justin and I are having a hard time trying to decide, are we doing a big gift? We were really torn on like, do we just do some sort of experience with her, even though it's likely she's not going to remember? Because our thought is like, looking back when we were kids, we didn't remember gift. Like I couldn't tell you, oh, in 1996, I got this gift. And so I just flat out asked her and she was like, gee, I don't know either. So her and I were kind of comparing and talking through it, but it goes beyond the gifts too. Like I see, um, there's other moms out there right now that are setting up the Christmas tree early
Right.
and, making really cute, unique ornaments with their kids' hands and feet and all of this. And I'm like, well, am I not doing Christmas the right way? Because I'm seeing that. And I know something that you've talked about, Jenny, is the family photo sessions this time of year. We actually have a session coming up the Sunday after Thanksgiving. And I'm like, well, what are we going to wear for this? So I'm like checking out everybody else. Is like, what's everybody wearing right now? So I think the expectations go beyond the gifts, and you end up comparing yourself to people in a similar situation to you, which almost makes it a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and even with those family photos, for me, sometimes it's not even what you're going to wear. It's that my family hates taking family photos, so they really don't happen. We don't have a bunch of family photos where we're all in the park or in front of a tree, and I can find myself comparing to other families, like, oh, how nice that they get all these pictures. you know. So I mean that comparison can come up, and if I allow myself to do that comparison, it can make me feel bad, but in the end, does it really matter? Like, I remember all my in my head. I don't need to have all these perfect pictures, but it can be very easy to allow that comparison to creep into my mind, and that's just me. That's all my control of if I
Yeah.
want to allow that to creep in or not.
Yep.
You brought up earlier, JennyLee, about or maybe it was Shelby, I'm trying to remember, but talking about year to year. And so,
Yeah.
it's true when I did not notice it before, but now I notice it that someone had said once that I was listening to, that once you have a tragedy like us losing Gracie, that it becomes life before and life after. And life before, I was the mom. Had Christmas here. I did the Christmas card every year. I made sure that, and a lot of times it was just me taking pictures of them sitting on the front porch or out in the yard or something like that. Some years I did hire somebody, and that became part of the things that I did for the holidays, right? Decorating the outside, decorating my house, being the hostess with the mostest. When people would come, we'd have sometimes scallop and prime rib and all this stuff. Well, then at least that's what I thought in my mind, right? Then people become or start to expect that, right? Like if I just wanted to have spaghetti, they would have been like, excuse me,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And meanwhile, I'm like, spending all of our hard-earned money on, having this elevated supper, and I'm not even enjoying it. That's not on anybody else. That's me because I made the big deal about I had to have all the things. Now, fast forward after, where we're at now, I don't, I have to wrestle with making sure I do take pictures now because I don't necessarily, I've gotten a lot better, but I don't necessarily like taking pictures of like the bigger family, um, because then I know that somebody's missing.
Yeah.
I know that my daughter isn't the only one missing. On my side, I'm missing my dad. Our in-laws were missing my father-in-law. And so, but I also have this tug of war that I need to make sure that we are taking pictures because we still have another child. And I want there to be pictures of us enjoying the holidays and things like that. But I think what we're all saying is trying to figure out instead of having what we used to call the central or locus of control, right? That being someone else, and then we're going around what they're telling us we should do, making sure that we're the locus of control. That what do we want? What is going to make us happy? I will tell you. And if you don't know my husband, then you don't know this. But for him, the best holiday is when either one of our kids was sick or something like that, because then we got to stay home and he didn't have to go anywhere. He didn't have to talk to anybody. He didn't have to. And me, I was like, this is awful, right? And now
My
we've
husband's the same way.
just
The
say
same
like,
way.
and I'm like, why? But we tend to make all those expectations that
Mhm.
because of what we've done before, right? Like even hosting a holiday now. Let's just talk about if money was not an issue before, right? And you were able to have this big, beautiful dinner before, and now money is tight. And you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to anyone else. If that's what we can afford and that's what the food is and the food is good and the company is good, that's what should matter. But I do understand that that's what happens is we tend to think, because I know that happened to me. I'm like, I can no longer afford to do, providing a meal for 22 people and two prime ribs and, all of that money. I'm not really sure how I did it back then. And, I'm just saying those are things that we get caught up in making sure that the house is decorated, the tree is exact, like you said, Shelby, I'm watching all of the videos now of everybody having their stuff up, and I'm going to be hosting Thanksgiving, and I'm like, well, then I'm not going to put up Christmas yet, because I want us to be present in the holiday that we're in. No shade on anybody else if you got a tree up and you do you, right? You do you.
Um, Ours is up and I have caught so much crap for it, but
Oh, you do you.
I know I don't have to explain myself. I am not the type to put our tree up before Thanksgiving, but we have plans for so many weekends out of the house that I was like, and this was the first year. Okay, when we lived in North Dakota, we didn't have tall ceilings. So, you guys, we had a Christmas tree that was like, it says 6.5 feet on the box, but when I stand next to it, I'm just as tall as the tree. So for reference, I'm only 5'3". So this tree is like maybe 5.5 feet tall. So we moved to Texas and our ceilings are like 14 feet. So the last couple of years here, we had like this tiny tree that just looked really silly in the corner. But for us, it was like cute. We got the Christmas tree up, hang the ornaments. I used to put everybody's Christmas card on our tree. That was like something really special. And this year we got a screaming deal on a 9.5 foot tree, which it fits way better in our house now. But I'm like, man, I kind of want to enjoy the fact that we got a new tree. It's full. My husband let me splurge and like buy Christmas ornaments. And there's some of our still like unique. Like I did do a handprint of Lakin's last year and like our dog's paw print and different unique stuff on there. But I was like, I'm gonna enjoy this the like 5 weekends that we're actually
You
home.
don't,
Enjoy.
Shelby.
I know I
You
don't have to
don't,
justify.
you don't owe anyone an explanation.
I know.
You put yours up before or after Halloween, or like Jenny Lee, she is one that she has learned. I'm going to do it when I feel ready for it.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
that's the same with me now. I've learned, I'm like, I am not doing it on anybody else's timeline. And so whoever's watching this, I'm giving you permission to do whatever the HELL you want to do because it doesn't matter to
When you
anybody
want
else.
to do it.
When
And
you
that
want
goes for more than putting up your Christmas tree or decorating for the
Yes.
holidays, right? Like no one else should, their opinion should not control when or how you do something.
Right.
Yeah.
And that it all comes down to that comparison. Like you're comparing to others or you're allowing others to compare to you. And it all comes down to that and just enjoying. I actually seen somebody the other day post a picture of their Christmas tree they have up and they were roundabout apologizing for the fact that like, well, this is just there'll be better trees up. This is just like a little one that I put up in the corner. And I was like, why are you apologizing for your beautiful tree? And it's like it is all for your enjoyment. That is what it's there for. And so if but I've seen a few people or people that are putting up their trees. I love when they're like, I unapologetically have my Christmas tree up. That is what they should be saying. This is
Yeah.
my tree and it's up because I want it up. And if I put mine up 3 days before Christmas, I'm unapologetically putting it up 3 days before Christmas because that's
Yeah.
when I want to put it up.
If
Um,
someone wants to come over and take it down and put it up and do all of that stuff on
yeah,
their time,
come
like,
do
come
it.
on over.
Yeah.
But it goes far beyond the tree and far beyond the gifts and just into our everyday lives, even after the holidays is that we are. And this quote, I read this this morning when we were talking. I was looking like just talking about us talking about comparison today, and somebody challenged that comparison is the thief of joy, and they said comparison is not the thief of joy, it's the judgment that comes from it. And I was like, ooh, it is not. It's not like comparing like, oh, Nikki's got a gray sweatshirt on today and I have a black one. I mean, that's a comparison, right? It's the like it could be the judgment of like, well, she's wearing gray, like you know what I mean. And I mean that's like not a great example, but
Yeah.
I was like, man. So again, comparison is not the thief of joy, it's the judgment that comes from it. And I was like, wow, like really, really true. So that comparison is trickling down into that judgment, which as I grow older is something I'm really, I mean, we talk about that on here. This is why we want this to be a safe place to talk and have real talk. But some of that real talk is admitting, yeah, sometimes I'm judging and I'm really trying to catch that in my mind. Like, stop. Why would you judge that? Like, and be happy for them. And I hope they're happy for me.
But I think some of those, what can happen is like the traditions, right? We talked about that before. Is that, well, that's how our family has done it before, or
Yeah.
that's how my mother did it, my mother-in-law did it, or my grandmother, whatever. And so actually it brings up a thought is that Shelby was listening or watching something on her For You page, and I'll let her share that in a minute. But I think back to when I was a young parent and I was struggling, and I was struggling because I was trying to do all the things perfectly. I was trying to be the I was the president of PTO. I was teaching Sunday school. I was on the school board, and I was working full time, and I had a part-time, or I had a side hustle job, and I was doing all these things and trying to be the perfect daughter and perfect daughter-in-law. And I was trying to do all those things, and I was not happy because I was trying to meet everyone else's expectations. And I remember calling my mom and saying speaking of my mom, she just texted me. I'm like, do not come in this moment unless you want to be uh
On screen.
on screen.
Hi, Nikki's mom.
Yeah. And so I called her up and I said, I'm sending you back the cape. And she's like, what in the heck are you talking about? And I said, I'm sending you back the super mom cape because I cannot do it. And she was like, who said that I had the super mom cape? I'm like, well, I thought you did a great job. Look at all of us, whatever, whatever. And I said, so I'm sending it back because I'm failing. And I said, and it's unattainable. And she looked at, or, didn't look at me. She was on the phone. She said, I was not the perfect mom. I did plenty of things. And the only reason why I got some of those things done is because you were helping me as the oldest. And then that's when it dawned on me, oh, right? Like we all need help at some point at different points in time. And so then it kind of brings me to the story, and then I'll let Shelb tell hers, is that when we had to go and clean out Gracie's house after she passed, cleaning out somebody's house is not a fun task, especially if you know the people and the thought process and all the memories that flood back. And so when we were doing that at Gracie's house, she had all of these books on her nightstand, and I didn't know what to do with them. And I brought them home, and I made the promise to myself that I was going to read them all. And I was like, I didn't know if that was actually going to happen or not. And so one of the top ones that was on there was called The Year of Yes, and it's by Shonda Rhimes. And if you don't know, she's the creator of Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, those types of things, those shows. And my daughter absolutely loved Grey's Anatomy. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to read it. And I thought the year of yes, I need to learn about the year of no more than I need to learn about the year of yes. But as you get into it, what the understanding is that it is, you can say no, but why aren't you saying yes to things that make your heart sing? And that's where even us talking about comparison, she has her commencement speech. And again, Shelb's going to talk about that. And I remember hearing that, and she talks about we are never, why do we hold ourselves up to this high standard of like 110% when 110% doesn't even exist, right? If there's only a 0 out of 100, 95 out of 100, or 100 out of 100, but we think we're better than that, so we're going to say 110. And guess what? We will fail every freaking time. And so what she talks about is you're going to we can't, everybody thinks about that or thinks that we should be multitasking all the time. Actually, we're not very good at that. And there's a lot of research to show that we're not good at multitasking. So in order to do better, we have to divide and conquer. Do something. And so that's what she talks about as the yes, is that when you're doing things, be wholehearted in them. Do the things that you want to do and show up authentically and wholeheartedly and do it. And then that's the yes. The no is that if it's not going to bring you joy, sure, we're going to have to do some stuff. Like I always say, I don't really want to clean the toilet, but there are things that we have to do, right? And but then letting those things go that aren't bringing you to that sense of accomplishment or helping you out, letting those things go. Because if we keep saying yes to all of the things that are not good for us or bringing us joy, then we have no time left for ourselves. And so there's no time left. And I know Shelb's going to explain it, but it was extremely powerful for me. I talk about this in my speeches all the time, that you will be you will be failing at something. We all fail at something, even though we're so scared poopless to be failing at something. And I'm like, I don't know that many of us are actually true failures, though. And how many of us can say when we failed, we actually learn more from our failures than we do than our successes? How many things I've done wrong, and I'm like, oh, well, that's why you do it this way, because if you put A before B in this sequence, it's not going to work. So I wouldn't have found that out had I not tried it that first way. And so that's what I love about her. She's like, be authentic, stand in your greatness of what you're doing well, and but know that if you're doing this well, if you're shining at work, and I think that was the biggest thing for me that I took away. I was trying to be the best daughter, the best wife, the best mom, the best school psychologist, the best ruby ribbon stylist, all of the things. But then I was sucking at being me. I was sucking at making time for myself. So I was failing at taking care of me, but I was doing okay about taking care of everyone else, but I was failing at putting myself first. And I think that's hard for a lot of women. We think we're not supposed to put ourselves first. Why the hell do you think on the airport or on the airplane they say put your oxygen mask on first? Because if you don't do that, you can't help anyone else. And that's what Shonda talks about is that you have to take care of you. But when you do that, or you do the things that you love, you will be automatically failing at something else. And that's okay. That's okay. And we have to be okay with that.
That is exactly what. So I had listened to Shonda's commencement speech, and I kind of brought this up to Nikki before we even got on here. I was like, mind blown. So it came up on like your For You, the suggested videos on my Instagram, and it just like punched me in the face.
Mhm.
She was talking, you kind of talked about it already, Nikki, but she was talking about um she basically gets up at her commencement speech and is like, from an outside perspective, it looks like I'm Superwoman. Like I have, like you said, like she had the cape on. She was excelling in school. She was kicking butt as a single mom, raising her kids and like doing all of the things. But she calls herself out in front of the crowd and is like, that's not the reality. Reality is in order for me to excel in one area of my life, such as school at that time for her, meant that she was missing out on something else, whether it be, bath time with her kids at home. She wasn't reading the books to them, or, she maybe wasn't excelling as a good friend to her friends because she was putting more time and energy into something for her that was really important for her. Doesn't make her a bad mom. It really hit me because it's like she was literally saying, Shelby, I am giving you permission to excel in things that you want to. And it's not that I'm like half-assing it in other areas of life. It's just you put your time and energy into certain things. And that means, you said it, Nikki, earlier, we only have 100%. And we
Mhm.
can't go above and beyond that. So if I'm putting 60% into building my own business, then I only have 40% for the other stuff, which it includes, being a good mom, raising my daughter the way that we want to raise her, being a good friend, being a good daughter, being a good wife. And so, one thing I had been struggling with a lot recently is being an awesome stay-at-home mom, making sure Lakin's learning everything and she's entertained and educated, and also trying to run my business at the same time. Um, and I loved what you said. Like I was sucking, like it felt like I was just sucking in general. Like I sucked at being myself because I couldn't find myself. I couldn't get anything done with work. And then I was like, oh man, well, am I like not being a good mom too? Because I'm sucking in all these other areas. So hearing from Shonda say that, it was like, wow, I have permission. Like it's okay, Shelby, to put more time and energy into different things that best serve me too. And since I've applied that, it's not like it's like night and day difference or anything, but I have noticed that now that I've applied myself more to like the work side of things, that it's actually kind of come full circle too, that I am able to give Lakin the more attention that she deserves and spend more quality time with my husband in the evenings because I put the time and effort into my business stuff and got more organized and was able to be like, okay, I'm going to do this and this here, which meant not trying to do it in the evenings when we're trying to connect and have a conversation together, or, on my phone trying to do it when I should be spending quality time with my daughter. But that did mean that some areas of my life are being affected and they're falling short. As someone who is a personal trainer, it's been kind of a hard pill for me to swallow, not getting um, lifting sessions in like I know I need to, but at this time, um, work right now, obviously my family life, like all of that, I'm just needing to put more energy into that and I have to be okay with that. Um, which brings me to another thing that I kind of wanted to mention to both of you is I had also read somewhere that, setting yourself up for success meant not just planning for when things are working out really well and to your advantage,
Mhm.
but setting yourself up for success when life isn't going the way you want it to. And I think that can apply to the holidays or in this situation, right? I'm not getting the workouts that I know I need or I hoped to get, but I'm still getting out and moving my body every day. I'm making sure those walks are happening, and sometimes I'm throwing on the weight vest. Um, but I think that applies here for the holidays too is, you might have had those expectations of the perfect Christmas card photo with everybody smiling and matching outfits and giving the best gift and having the most elaborate dinner and everything, but you personally have to accept that. I think you said it even before the call, Nikki, like that things are good enough and that's okay too.
Well, to go off of that, Shelb, who said it has to be 100%? I think so much of us, though, especially as women, we think that it has to be that way, right? It has to be class A. And it's like, A plus, right? But who says that? Like, we are the only people that know what A plus looks like. And so, just even like you said, you're not doing your lifting right now, but what are you able to right now? It doesn't mean that has to be for forever, but right now in this season, for my purpose and where I'm at and what I want to get accomplished, I am saying, you know what? I'm still getting my movement in, but it needs to look different right now. And I'm
Yep.
okay with that, right? That doesn't mean it has to be that I never go back to that. It's saying right now I need to shift. And it goes back to also that all of those things were working when you were trying to take care of everybody else, but without putting your piece of
Yeah.
the puzzle in there. So
Yep.
now saying no to some of those things, or just saying not right now,
Yep.
then I have time for those things that I'm saying absolute yes to. Because
Yep.
if we don't start to say no, that's exactly what I was making sure I was meeting everybody else's expectations, least of all my own, right? And then I was resentful, I was sad, and I think that's kind of what happened for me after losing Gracie. I had all these thoughts of like I have to go to Christmas and I have to do all these things and I have to do these things for these people because that's what they're expecting of me. And then I was just like I couldn't fake it anymore. I couldn't pretend anymore. And it wasn't just at the holidays. It was all the way through the year. And I was like, because I was so afraid of letting people down, right?
Hmm.
And I'm like, but we're all human and I don't want to continue on this way. And I wanted my kid, I wanted him and my husband to know that I was making them do things that they didn't want to do either. Right. And then I was like, why are we doing this? Why are we all getting dressed up and or whatever? Why are we doing this? What makes us happy and then finding what that is and saying, okay, because it's our world that we're in. We're not living someone else's. Yes, we're all in the world together, but it's like, what gives us the presence of mind and the peace and the joy in our family? And I will tell you, I know I'm sure Jenny Lee has more to say about this too, but like I realized, actually, we just had for the founders table. If you want to know more about that, we would all three of us. I'm one of the mentors, and both Jenny Lee and Shelby are mentees. But um, Nicole just put out something that said, "Hey, where are you at, and what's going on in your life?" And I saw Jenny Lee had posted, and I had posted, and it was like, "What do you want in the next 30, 60 days of yourself?" Right? And so I was thinking long and hard, and I was like, I need more peace. And there's other things that I want, but one thing that came to me is I want more peace because as things have started, like Shelb just talked about, things are going good. And so then we start to like add a few more things. Before we know it, we've got this huge backpack of stuff that's on our back. And I'm like, I thought I had like a pixie, backpack on my back. And before I know it, it's like, alpaca on the back. So I started to think, what do I want? I want more peace. I want because what happened is I've started to allow more things into my days that are off of my day job. And I've allowed that time that I knew I needed it. And this is just talking about it for myself. After the first years of losing our daughter, I thought, okay, I need to do this. I need to do this to help myself, right? But then I started to think, well, there's got to be that imaginary timeline of when I need to let that go. And I was saying it to myself. I'm like, no, I know I need that time to me. But I had now quietly allowed that to go away. And I now was starting to feel at the beginning of the week, I felt extremely overwhelmed. I felt like I was carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders. It was nobody else's, it was me because I had not said no to some of those things. And that's where I even had shared with you guys last week or whenever we met. And I was like, I got to give up something. I have to give up some things if you knew me before, it's like I am in recovery. And that's what it is. It's like it's admitting to people like I have to stop, because it becomes almost that addictiveness of saying yes to everyone else and not saying yes to us. So I had to sit there and think of, okay, I do want to bring some of these other things that I'm starting to work on in a work life. But that means that something else has to go away. I have to take something else off my plate. And I'm looking at the plate and I'm like, but I want the meatballs and I want the mashed potatoes and I want the stuffing and I want all those things, but I may have to say only half of a piece of lefse or whatever. So, I mean, that is an analogy for me. Like I'm having to think long and hard.
Mhm.
What am I going to give up? Or what are things that I have to make adjustments on so that I can now do the next step of where I want to go.
Yeah.
And that's been hard for me. I want it all. I think we all are like that, right? And I'm like, but I've come so far and I'm like, but I can't. This is what I posted it even last night, something about change. And we can get far along in our journey and we think that, okay, I've learned that. I'm good. And then the world comes and like you're like, oh crap. Okay, we gotta go back over that lesson. And that's exactly where I'm at. I'm like, I thought I had I thought I had this down. I thought I figured it out, like how to have the scheduling down and to not take on too much. But that's the way the world works, is that it's not just a one and done. It is a constant evolution
Mhm.
of learning that skill set, whether it's for the holidays or for life in general. Because here's the thing is that we have not stood still, and neither has the world. So I am not the same person I was a month ago. I'm not the same person I was 4 years ago. And I never will be. And I think that's the other thing is like saying to ourselves and giving ourselves permission, because I've said that to people. I didn't want to let some people down, and I've had to say to them, I think that you expect me to go back to being the person I used to be, and I never can go back. And I'm never going to go back, and that's not to hurt you. It's saying I can never not have lost my daughter. For me, that's where it's at. Or I can never have changed my career. I already did that. It's not to say that I couldn't go back or whatever, but those things have happened, and now that has altered who I am. Now that
Yep.
might change again, but I'm just saying, I think those, even though we started this about the holidays, it's a full picture. we can't, it's not just about the holidays. It's
Mhm.
the full picture.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to tie back to something Shelby said, and then I have something else to continue with. But I want to tie back to when Shelby was talking about the wellness and yourself and getting your workouts in. So, for those that don't know, Shelby's been my wellness coach for 4 years now. And we started in October of that. Yes, it was 4 years. It just hit me. And she's a fabulous wellness coach. And during those 4 years, there was definitely lots of ups and downs going on in my life, and there were times that couldn't have that perfect workout routine. And she told me exactly what she's telling herself now. And aren't we all? I know all three of us are really good at giving advice and not taking it ourselves. And so I want to give you this perspective, Shelby. You taught me that. You taught me that there's seasons of life that just do movement. Even if you just got out and walked around the block today when you're going through that really hard period, if that's the only time you had today, or you had to park really far in the parking lot just to get yourself some fresh air, that's all you have to do today. But I want to put this perspective on you, as in, you as a coach now, you already knew that and you're already teaching your clients that, but now you're going through it yourself. And so
Mhm.
you are going to even deeper be able to help people through those seasons of their lives. And so
I
that's just, yeah,
Mm.
another way your growth is right there. And that's like Nikki talking about, we will never be the same people we are from day to day to day. And that's how it's supposed to be. So about the time we figure, I got this
Mm.
figured out, life's cruising, it's going good. And then it's like, bam, perimenopause hits, or
Yeah.
bam, you're gonna
Yeah.
have another baby or something
Yeah.
like that, like
Your toddler is standing on top of the kitchen table. Like,
yeah,
yes, yes.
But I think you're
exactly.
so right, Jenny Lee, because here's the thing. That's again why we're doing this, right? That's
Yes.
why we're whatever we're calling this. We are just trying to put a call out to all women that we understand you. We maybe have not ever been in all of your experiences, but now when you go through what you've been coaching and what you've been teaching, now people trust you even more. Not saying that they didn't trust you before, but now you even trust yourself more because now you've had that and you're like, oh crap, I'm not getting that all in. But also then you now can now have a better understanding of what those people, because I do remember Jenny Lee saying that like, I can't get this in today. And she always said you were that great. I always think of a Jiminy Cricket on her shoulder of like, did you go and walk 2 blocks? You walked 2 blocks. You did your yoga or whatever it is. Like for me, I get on the treadmill. I mean, I hate it with a passion. I say that and I said, I have to stop saying that because there's very rarely that I don't get on there. But that's what I mean is like now the wisdom that you have imparted on others, now you, like Jenny Lee said, you have it and now you're using it with yourself. And that's that's when God laughs at us or we laugh
Yes.
at God like, okay, got it now, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, it was
Yes,
all about me in the end. So, I'm like, I got the lesson that you were trying to teach me back then. Yeah.
exactly.
I think that, sorry to, I don't want to cut you off, Jenny, because I know
No.
you had another thing to
Yeah.
say. I think that's where we have those expectations of ourselves that we put on ourselves from other people.
Yeah.
So for me, admitting that in front of a client,
Yeah.
but it just admitting it to somebody, like, I literally have made a living for the last however many years, like helping people move their bodies and get stronger. And like, I will preach lifting weights, right? And to be like, yeah, I'm not doing that right now. And then just you feel that weight of like people have like the laser beam eyes on you. And at the end of the day, no one freaking cares what I am doing. No one has probably even noticed. And if they did, like,
They're
How
like,
would we
thank you for
know?
being with me.
thank
Thanks for
you for
being with me.
noticing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But just that's those false expectations that we put on ourselves and we make them heavier than they actually are. So it's, yes, I need to take my own advice, right? And I really am trying to do that, but also we need to stop putting those expectations from others on ourselves
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
at,
Yeah.
and and that's being vulnerable, and when you share that, like, as your client, to me that just makes me feel better, like, oh, Shelby's real. I
She's
need my
human. Yeah.
wellness coach to be real. Like, I don't want anybody who's faking anything, and my phone's gonna die. I gotta plug this in. You know, I need that from, if you were fake and everything was perfect, I would have fired you a long time ago.
That's
So,
I have heard so many times now. I think as a mom, like everything on my social media obviously has been geared more towards like motherhood, but so many times I would see to all the 20-year-old trainers that have zero responsibilities, like no kids, whatever, we do not have the same 24 hours in a day.
yeah.
And it's just so funny to like think of that now. Like, yeah, no, we don't because no, the perfect, no, I don't have 3.5 hours to just like
And in the
go to the
gym.
gym
Yeah.
in my
Yeah.
super cute little outfit and
Yeah.
like drink
Yeah.
my shake and then go hang out with my friends after and this and that and um cook the fancy meals, whatever. But yeah,
Yep. And
yeah,
that's just life. And that's where like we want to connect the generations is being vulnerable about
yeah,
that and being like, you know what? I did say that. I was wrong. Like
yeah.
it's just like I always
Thankfully, I
say,
don't. I don't think I ever said that. So if I did to anyone that I said it to, you're right. You did. You could have probably punched me in the face at that time, and I
right.
would be like, "Yeah, I deserve that."
Well, it's just like I'm sure every single one of us said before we had kids, well, my kids won't do that. Or, and now is having young adults coming up like, oh, I don't ever say that. Like, my kids won't do that. Nope, not.
You say it, it's happening.
Yeah,
I,
it's happening.
yeah.
Okay, the other thing that I wanted to say was as we were talking about all those expectations and all those maybe things you put on yourself, you're comparing to others, you're comparing to your past, or you're judging yourself a lot. I think we
Mhm.
judge ourselves more than we judge other people.
Oh,
But
yes.
since I have learned to let that stuff go, I was talking in a little friend group the other day, we were texting, and um everybody's like finding like you find what you love. And the one lady was like, my husband just asked if we could do some different food for Thanksgiving this year. And she's like, absolutely not, because she loves, and she truly does love preparing the Thanksgiving meal. And I was like, and I laughed and I replied, I'm like, well, if my husband asked if we could have pizza, I'd be like, sure, that
Oh,
sounds
yes.
fantastic. And so, but she loves that joy of having it, and I love, and neither one of us was is judging each other on those
Yeah.
options.
Yeah.
But have you ever guys ever heard the story about the grandma? I don't remember if it's a ham or a roast. Do you remember okay.
Mm.
Okay, I just didn't know if either of you heard it. So there's a story that's gone around, and it talks about traditionally when they cut the ham in half and to put it in the oven. And great grandma did it, and grandma did it, and then mom did it. And like one of the daughters asked when you're like, Mom, why do you cut the ham in half? Like, what's the secret? Like, does it make it juicier? Is it more flavorful? She's like, well, that's why grandma did it. And the grandma was like, well, that's why what my mom did. And so they asked the eldest lady, why did you do that? She's like, because the ham didn't fit in the oven. Like,
Okay. I forgot about that story. I
yeah, and
forgot
it's
about.
like, and so those traditions that went down, she
Yeah.
literally didn't fit in her oven. So every other tradition thought, oh, grandma has a secret about making the ham amazing and cutting it in half. And so that's some of that letting it go. Grandma
Yeah.
wasn't thinking about that. She let it go. That's the only reason she did it. The more I have let things go, man, the more I can enjoy the holidays. It's like, and then you get those moments where you get to sit back and just sit back and enjoy it. There's just really something about letting it go. And if other people tease you about your choices, tease them back. Like, I'm happy with the way I'm doing it,
Mhm.
and just and let it be. But it makes me think of that song when my girls were little. Let it go, let
Yeah.
it go. Yeah.
I think that's a perfect place to pause and end because I do think what we've talked about today is all about those expectations, whether perceived or real, right? And even if they are real, somebody expects that of you. They are not in control of you, right? And so letting that go is your peace. Is that worth the expense of making someone else happy and not having peace? And I would say when I was younger, yeah, because I thought that I had to make everybody else happy to make sure we did all of the things. And now you know what? Some of my favorite holidays in the recent years are when we did like one year we were supposed to go to Pittsburgh and they canceled all the flights, so we were supposed to be there for Christmas. And I was like, and all of our family was like, "You need to come over." I'm like, "Hell no." Nope. Nope. We opened up the windows. It was like 50 below. We acted like we were going to be out there not too long, you know. But I'm just saying, like, that was one of my, I won't forever forget that
Yeah.
we made like a bunch of fried food. When I ever had fried food for Christmas? Just saying, like, those are the things when we let those expectations go, or the being the perfect mom. You know what? You're the perfect mom for little Lakin because you're her mom. And I'm, and vice versa, same with JennyLee. She's the mom of her two beautiful girls. I'm the mom of two children, one now in heaven and one on earth. And that's the way it's supposed to be. And I don't want to live a life so full of sadness and regret. I just, forever, however long I have, I want to let that SHIT go and find the joy. Like we've talked about, that's why it's called the Real Joy Project. What brings you real joy? It can be finding a penny. There'll be less to find now that they're not making anymore. But whatever that is in your life, letting it go and finding what brings you joy instead of living for others' expectations. What do you want? So we give you permission to do that today.
Yes. Shelby, do you have any words to close?
No, I think it's great. I know, Jenny, you have a reminder for everyone you kind of touched on in the beginning, but I hope everyone has a very happy Thanksgiving and a safe holiday. And remember to say yes to yourself.
Mm. Mhm.
Absolutely. I'm going to leave you guys with a little quote today that I read. It says, "A flower does not think of competing to the flower next to it. It just blooms." So I hope that you guys are all going to just bloom. And if you enjoyed our chat here today, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss our future conversations. We appreciate you and are so grateful for all of you out there who are listening and being a part of our community.
Oh, thank you. Bye,
Thank
ladies.
you.
Next time.